welcome back to another video. I hope you guys enjoy as always. But do me a favor, if you do enjoy, hit a like on the video. And now, onto the good stuff. You demanded my entire team be at the office for the 4th of July. Fine, enjoy paying for the office party. So this starts on Monday, the 13th, as I receive an email from a VP not over my department. Or bad VP, I am told that my team will be required on the 4th. I politely tell them that our team has scheduled this day off, and people already have plans. My team is the Tillman. As many of you know, the like 2 team gets shafted every time a team gets shafted by any company. So over the course of the week, I let my team know what is happening. I let them know I have been reaching out to higher ups to fix it. I also tell them that if their plans are ruined, I will make it right at work. Over the course of 3 meetings, it starts to look like things will not go my way. In response, I sent an email to the CEO of the company. All of my higher ups knew I was going to do this and said I should do this as he is very family oriented, and that he would not allow anyone to work on a national holiday. Well, he is on vacation in the Bahamas until the 6th, but his assistant informed me he would look at this after he gets back. Repeatedly slams head into desk, so I tell everyone that it will be work from home, and that we will be setting my cell phone as priority in the call routing, meaning I would get most of the calls. To be honest, I was expecting almost 0 calls, especially since I was asked to send out a notification that IT support would cover the 4th of July. I never sent that email out. A day later, I was given another outrage. I was told in an email that my employees would be required to be at the office, and no one was allowed to work from home. They would be checking the door badge ends to verify we were at the office. I asked why in an email, and they said that they wanted to make sure no one was playing video games at work. We normally work from home about 2 divided by 3rd of the week, and video game playing is a normal occurrence at work. So I walk into the person's office after a very long conversation where she was losing the logic war with me. She told me that it's just IT. You guys don't have lives. No, I am not kidding you. This is exactly what they told me. I reported this to my VP, who said, I will take care of this. It likely won't be until after the 4th. So get creative. I know this man well. We have worked together a long time, and get creative is code for corporate fuckery. I asked the person requiring us to be at the office if they cared if we had an office party. They said no, as long as it did not interfere with the call flow. Even suggested using my new company card to pay for it. Go wild. Pro tip, never tell me to go wild. At this point, it was Tuesday the 21st. I let everyone know what's up, but that I have something planned. I asked who had things planned for that day. 2 people told me they were planning to shoot off fireworks with their family, but the rest were planning BBQs with friends. I wrote an email to the VP over my department, and the bad VP, I tell them all that I let everyone know. We all were expected to work until 8 p.m. Monday. Per the conversation with the bad VP, I will be having an office party as a sort of apology to the guys and gals who got shafted by this decision. The bad VP replied again, thank you for your understanding. Also, yes, I would expect an office party if I had to work on the 4th of July as well. So go wild and enjoy your time. Use your new company credit card if you need to cover a few expenses. Also, I should not have to remind you or anyone else. No fireworks or alcohol on company property. So now it is time to tell you about my office. A while back, the IT team was moved from the main corp office and into a smaller building by itself. It has a nice gaming break room, a decent sized gym, and a full-on drink bar. Soft drinks, mind you. No alcohol at work. Outback is a big patio that crosses county lines as soon as you cross a small creek. A creek that just so happens to have a footbridge over it, leading to an empty field. I started making phone calls. One day, June the 25th, I called up everyone an hour early for a meeting that morning. I explained to them all that I will be making it right. I asked everyone to invite their friends and family to the office. No supplies will need to be brought by anyone. I tell them all that this will be non-alcoholic, but that I will be planning something for everyone. I told them to expect all food to be provided, and they don't need to bring anything, unless they want to bring some fireworks, i.e. they won't have to spend a dime. The 4th came in the entire day. We did absolutely no work, no tickets, no calls came in. Well, 7 calls did come in, but from the same person. The bad VP, she was calling to make sure we were manning the phones. All of us were playing video games or watching movies. 6 p.m. rolled around and everyone was told that the food was ready. People were expecting hot dogs, hamburgers, maybe a bratwurst or 2. What they got was a full-on BBQ feast with pizza and other foods. There was smoked brisket, spare ribs, smoked sausage, smoked turkey, both kinds of tater salad, coleslaw, green beans with bacon and onion, potatoes au gratin, pizza from 2 different places, excellent hamburgers, and bratwurst hot dogs. On the dessert side was cake, very good cookies, 4 different kinds of pies, and about 2 pounds of fudge. Families and friends started showing up at around 6:15ish. Some brought alcohol, but I told them they would need to leave that in their cars as I was not that crazy. Some were not too happy about that but agreed as it was a free dinner for random strangers. So let me set the scene for you. I am out there with all calls routed to my cell phone, and everyone is just having a good time. We have a ton of people there just enjoying the fun night, chatting about random stuff, eating the food, and occasionally lighting off some sparklers or throwing firecrackers into the stream. It's not stocked and only 1 foot deep. My VP, not the bad VP mind you, showed up with his family and brought some water balloons for the kids. And now children, around 8:30ish it's getting dark and people want to shoot off more than the simple sparklers and firecrackers we had been using. The VP over the department had everyone cross the footbridge, over county line, and off company property mind you, and we set up a big wooden board using it as our launch pad. We fired off what we had for an hour or two, and sort of just hung out for a little while. At around this time people were tired and ready to head home. I told people to take home leftovers. Within reason, we'd all clocked out at 8 and no one left until about 10:30. The bad VP did call once more while we were out back at the party. It was 7:50 and she called asking for a status update. My exact words were, "Well, you were the only one to call us today. The rest of us are on the back patio enjoying the 4th of July shindig." She simply acted like my boss and said as long as no alcohol or fireworks are on company property, I do not care. We ate roughly half of the food catered. The rest was taken home. A small group volunteered to stay behind to clean up, including my VP. We had a funny conversation about how this will make waves with the bosses. What he said he had my back and asked me how much this cost. I just gave him a sideways look which made him laugh. Tuesday morning, I submitted the expense report to my VP. This email would inevitably make its way over to the bad VP and up the chain to the CIO of the company. It would be a bad idea to give out the exact cost of the party, mind you. But I can tell you that because of this 4th of July party, new rules were put into place. Any expenses of over 4K or more must be approved by the direct supervisor, VP over the department, and the full expense report must be sent to the financial department for review after the fact. Hint, the party cost over 6K. The BBQ was the most expensive part. I did not order from a low or mid-tier place. The place I ordered from has consistently been on the top 10 in the DFW listing for the last 30 years. I ate at that place so much I made friends with the owner. The best BBQ I have ever had. The pies and cakes were custom made by a bakery, and the cookies were made by a boutique cookie place. I had 10 to 12 packs of Coke, Coke Zero, DP Zero, Pepsi, and Pepsi Zero. I bought 5 pepperoni, 5 sausage, 5 cheese, 2 Hawaiian, and 3 cheeseburger pizzas from one place, and nearly the same number from another place. Excluding the cheeseburger ones, I subbed out those for a different specialty pizza from the other place. The burgers were from an excellent burger place that did catering. I know that owner well. He brought his kids for the night of fun after he heard what was going to be happening. He was also the one who brought the brat dogs as he recently added those to his menu. This was the most expensive office party in the history of the company. The only things more expensive than this were some business meetings that the CEO rented private rooms in high-end restaurants for. As for the CEO, he was outraged, not at the cost of the party mind you. He knew that the party would not have been necessary if people had been allowed to go home. He was outraged that it was the only group required to work on that day. When I submitted the logs showing how we received no real phone calls, no service requests, and that we basically watched movies, played video games during our shift. He had heard enough. He apparently sent out a scathing email about work-life balance and the importance of our holidays to every upper management. It was kind of funny as people wanted me to get in trouble for what I did. But the reality is other departments have done similar things in the past, just not on the scale that it did. The bad VP was admonished quite effectively and sent me an apology email. I forwarded it to the team with a strong hint to not reply. Then my VP let the CIO and the CEO know about what the bad VP said. You guys don't have lives. The bad VP did actually confirm she said it in a meeting with her EVP. It did not go over well. I have never heard people yelling in an office meeting like that before. The CEO of the company came to our office and yelled at her, not sure if she was fired. But she is not at work today. In Active Directory, she does not have the down arrow of death, so not 100% what happened to her. I know she lost whatever clout she had at this company with her attitude. If anything more happens, I will update, but so far it looks like the fallout from this is that it caused a new rule to be put in place about how much you are allowed to spend at one time. The bad VP may or may not be let go. I know she got yelled at. Strangely, there is now no longer any pushback for my bid to get everyone back to working from home. You have to test positive to get paid. I came back from vacation on a Friday from a certain well-known theme park in Central Florida, the one involving people wearing mouse costumes. With a sore throat, I assumed it was just caused by screaming on all the roller coasters and barely sleeping. Well, Sunday morning rolls around and I start to feel some fatigue and get a runny nose. My boyfriend starts getting symptoms too, so we get some at-home tests for COVID-19, and oddly enough, his result is positive but mine is negative. I try to do my due diligence anyway by letting my managers know that I had been exposed to someone with COVID-19. But I myself had tested negative. I said I was willing to come to work Monday and just double down on wearing a mask. And social distancing were kind of past that in my region of the country. Also, I'm new at this company and I don't know what their protocol is. Well, the local manager tells me this will be fine since I'm negative. But then an hour goes by and I get a call from HR. We discuss my symptoms, my exposure, and my test results. He says that I cannot come to work until Saturday at the earliest because I have to wait 5 days from the date of my exposure. Doesn't matter that I'm vaccinated. I asked him if this time off will be paid due to the circumstances. He said no, not unless I test positive. I asked my local manager if there was any work that I could do from home since my time off would be unpaid. And he said no, everything has to be done on our secure server. Blah blah blah. You'd think they could get it to rig something up for me at my place since someone else in the office is on vacation. And there's another person out due to COVID right now, so our office is dramatically understaffed, especially given the time of year in the industry. But I digress, so my only option for getting paid for a week in which I forcibly had to stay out of work one way or the other was if I tested positive. Okay, cue malicious compliance. I called my boyfriend Monday and told him the situation, and we agreed he should come hang out. You know, just in case my home test was right. We spent about 4 more hours together, kissing and cuddling and the like. And then I took another test, a rapid result test with a local lab. This morning, I'm COVID positive. Yo, I called my HR rep again and told him the news. My time frame for coming back to work has only shifted by 1 day. So now they're paying me for 4 days this week to sit at home and do nothing, when they could have at least had me working from home. I feel exactly the same as I did Sunday. I'm getting paid, and they're still dramatically understaffed. And if it tells you anything else about the American healthcare system and corporate world, my boyfriend is at work right now with no mask on. According to them, he just has to be symptom free. Whatever, as to why I didn't snap a pic of my boyfriend's test and claim it was my own. They require the results to have my name on them, so they wouldn't have accepted an at-home test anyway, which just screams the question, why was his positive at-home test good enough to consider me exposed? That time I just stood there and bled while I waited for my boss to acknowledge my existence. I just got a nosebleed for the first time in a while, and it reminded me of this story. I got them fairly often as a kid, but less so as an adult. One day, while I'm in the office, I get a pretty profuse nosebleed. I tried to just plug it up and keep going about my day, but this one was lasting. So I head over to my boss's desk to let her know I was gonna work the rest of the day from home and take care of my nose. She's currently talking with one of my coworkers, and normally I wouldn't interrupt. But given the circumstances, I came up and started with "excuse me, sorry to interrupt, boo," without looking up. She cuts me off and says, "You can clearly see I'm in a one-on-one. Please be polite and wait for me to finish." Alright, you got it. By this time, the tissue I was using to plug my nose was getting redder and redder. And by the time she finally looked up, it wasn't a pretty sight. She asked me why I didn't say something sooner, and I just repeated back to her what she had told me. She sheepishly said obviously stuff like this would be an exception. I just shrugged and walked back to my desk to get my things. My first boss and how he got the whole team every certification available. When I turned 14 years old, I got my first summer job and had one of the best bosses I'd ever had. I recently found out that unfortunately my mentor, and someone I would consider a friend, John, passed away. Although it's been well over 20 years, I still use the lessons learned and the work ethic he passed on to me. Although at times he could be hard, he was more than fair and always did the right thing for those that worked for him. This is the story of John versus the new president. Before I get into the story, I need to give some background and context on John. John was the textbook all-American boy. John had attended a prestigious boarding school somewhere in New England and eventually attended Yale back in the late 50s, 60s, and was not only a scholar, but a free-sport athlete. He played football, he boxed, and was a captain on the track and field team. Fast forward to when this story takes place, and John was still in phenomenal shape for a late 60s, early 70s man. John opted to move out to the country, start a family to follow his passion, which was teaching at the local high school and coaching high schoolers in various sports. Obviously, he was the high school football coach, taught track and field. He was an outstanding shot put athlete and could run the mile and many other long distances. As a teacher, he had the summers off and became a lifeguard at the local town beach, eventually becoming the captain of the lifeguards. Over time, he developed standards for the town county, state lifeguards to pass. He really transformed what was a ragtag style of lifeguards into a full-fledged official lifeguard corps training academy, and set the standards for what is still used today. John was eventually hired to run the lifeguards and manage an entire private beach club instead of working for the town beach. One of the biggest challenges in this, since it was a private beach club, John now reported into a president of the beach club who oversaw how things were run. I started working for John as a helper on the beach, and then eventually a lifeguard. And for the first couple of summers things were great. The president of the beach club took pride in having the best staff, and making sure that lifeguards were well paid. And to his credit, safety was the utmost priority. This private beach club certainly catered to the more wealthy clientele who wanted a nicer club instead of going to the public beach. Some of the advantages were the amenities, which were lockers, cabanas, private parking, a very nice restaurant that served great food and drinks. This was one of the few beach clubs that also had the ability to serve alcoholic beverages. One of the good things John had instituted was that any returning member of the staff from the previous summers automatically got a raise. This ensured that staff returned the next summer, avoiding a lot of retraining. And as you can imagine, growing pains with a new staff. What was even better was that if you returned multiple summers, you still got an additional raise. Most summers this was $1 or $2. As an example, I started at $7.25 at 14 years old. This was back in the late 90s. And by the time I was in college, I was making almost $15 an hour. Typically, the president of the club serves a term which is a few years, and when his term was up, a new president was ushered in. Upon taking office, the new president loudly proclaimed that he wanted to ensure that the club had fiscal responsibility, and he would be personally going over the books with a fine-tooth comb. His first order of business was to cut everyone's pay all the way back to minimum wage, and fire most of the lifeguards. Now, as noted above, the staff was there for a long time, knowing most of the members and how to run the place. Prior to the start of the summer, upon learning that their hourly wage would be cut, most of the senior staff immediately left and were quickly hired elsewhere. The lifeguards were spared at the appeal of John to ensure safety. Although some senior guards left for other beaches and pools, John was able to convince the lifeguards as he would take care of things. Onto the MC. While John agreed to have the staff take the pay cut, he convinced the new president that any lifeguards with additional certifications would get $2 an hour on top of the base minimum wage. The new president obviously didn't consider that any of these lifeguards would put in the effort, or if it was feasible to get any certifications in time for the summer season, and he agreed to the plan. As you can imagine, John basically established a process and curriculum for becoming a lifeguard, and personally trained and hired most if not all the trainers in the town and country. John was also a volunteer fireman and knew all the EMS personnel, and not surprisingly had either taught them in school or hired them as lifeguards in their past lives. John quickly called in favors from every trainer and certifier across the country, who were more than happy to repay all the favors John had done for them in the past. Most waived the training fees and expedited the training sessions for the lifeguards, and they wanted to promote safety for the community prior to the start of the Memorial Day weekend, and what is effectively the unofficial start of summer. All of us lifeguards and new staff become certified in pretty much every single possible certification that existed at the time. I mean, I'm talking crazy, complete overkill, and unnecessary certifications for a regular lifeguard. We got trained as other M's and an M took. Although lifeguards had to be certified in CPR, we retrained and got our CPR certifications again: life-saving ocean and pool rescue techniques, certified swimming instructor, certified food inspector. The club had a kitchen, certified county pool operator license, certified sanitary inspector cleaning the bathrooms. We even had one guy who wanted to learn how to scuba. The county's firefighters had a water rescue team who coincidentally were certified scuba instructors. Most of us guards become certified divers, open water divers, deep water rescue divers, the whole works. I could go on and on about all the certifications we got. The lifeguards not only went back to their original wage, but in most cases went well above what their previous wages were. At 18 years old and back in the 90s, I personally went from making $15 an hour to $27 an hour, all due to the certifications and training. It took a month or so for the fallout to happen. While the new president tried to renege on the deal, John was smart enough to have a formal arrangement in place, and there was nothing the new president could do besides bitch about it. He wound up resigning his position to spend more time with his family at the beach. We rarely saw him around that summer, and I think he eventually stopped coming altogether, opting to join another club. John made nice with the new president and explained his philosophy on training and keeping staff. The new president agreed, and some of the senior staff wound up coming back with the promise of their original wage. A few weeks ago, I heard from friends and former colleagues that just at the start of the summer season, John passed away in sleep of natural causes at the ripe age of 91. He was still working, although not as much in the past. It was more of a I want to keep busy type of thing than a need to work. Every morning he would take out the lifeguard's rowboat and get some exercise in. After all, he was a certified rowing instructor. Be careful what you say to children. I have never liked iceberg lettuce, but growing up, that's what we got. Every time we had a salad, I begged my mom to use less lettuce. And after all my begging sessions, she said when you make dinner, you can make it how you like it. I was probably 5 at the time. I turned 8, and I am now allowed to use the sharp knives. Mom asked me to make the salad for dinner as I am now old enough to help. I took 1 leaf of lettuce and chopped it up and then put in about a half pound of cheese, every grape tomato we had, and lots of raw onions. When I put it down on the table, she said it was not a proper salad, as there was not enough lettuce. My response was, well, Mom, when you make dinner, you can make it how you like it. Needless to say, I was never asked to do the salad again, but I was satisfied that my family ate it that way because they have been bested. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more, hit a sub, and if you have any suggestions, let me know down in the comments. See you tomorrow.